It's 2 p.m. Central African time. A very good afternoon to you. Thank you so much for joining us here on Market View this Thursday afternoon. I am Sifiso Ngumalo, and this is Market View. And our business news today, Eswatini's agriculture sector edges towards international certification. Now, as global gap standards loom, NAMBOD, in collaboration with the International Trade Center, are training extension officers to prepare farmers for what could soon become mandatory practice. That is what they call it. Plus, a businesswoman has 250,000 emalangeni in VAT debt written off through the now concluded tax debt relief program. She joins others in praising the initiative, calling it a timely rescue for SMEs. In our Enterprise Watch segment today, we want to unpack the Eswatini Revenue Services door-to-door Bafunzise campaign, with over 1,800 businesses already visited in Manzini alone. Is this the model that finally closes our tax gap? And finally, our market analysis. We go global, from Wall Street to commodities, and then the rand's trajectory. Economist Sanelis Bia joins me to track the movements shaping Eswatini's fiscal outlook. This is Market View. Let's start with our business news. On our first story, farmers in the agriculture industry may soon need to have their produce certified under the Global Good Agricultural Practices known as Global GAP. This is to boost trade and ensure quality standards. Now, NAMBOD, in collaboration with the International Trade Center, are training agriculture extension officers, will later train farmers on the requirements. NAMBOD's Chief Executive Officer, Pegizo Mazia, shared more details during a training session for extension officers, which was held in Eswatini.
The purpose for this training, it is to equip the extension officers as our foot soldiers on the ground who lies with the farmers, to be in a position, one, to understand the intricacies of the global gap processes, as well as to equip them on making them ready to assess the farmers in preparation for the global gap certification. You will recall, Jagamanda, that we announced a training of the farmers in an awareness campaign where we selected a total of 400 farmers that would be taken through the process for global gap certification. And out of those 400 farmers, we then selected 60 farmers who were ready to undergo the process for the certification process. Now, those 60 farmers are currently improving their farms and their fields in line with the global gap requirements.
Different extension officers have shared what they have learned from the training. The Eswatini Standards Authority has also taken interest in this training.
Because as a national standards body, we will be coming in to do certification for the farmers to ascertain that all the farming procedures have been done in line with the global gap requirement standard. And that will also give assurance that the products that are being produced are safe for human consumption.
That implies to the use of organic materials and the importance of protecting the environment. So our practices should not degrade the land, and it should protect the environment.
Njengoba ngingumlimisi lengibiyela nako ekhaya ukuthi sifundzise balimi bomqoka bekuthi emasimu abo abe certified phecelezi i-global gap certification ukuthi badokhona kuthengisa ekumakethe leti ngephandle kwaleli kufaka eSouth Africa nangephesheya.
The Global Good Agricultural Practices are internationally recognized guidelines that ensure food is produced safely, sustainably, and under ethical working conditions. They are important as they help farmers produce food that is safe for consumption by minimizing risks from pesticides, contamination, and improper handling. They also assist in access to markets. For Market View, Nelson Dlangamandla, Vuminkosi Nzinisa, Eswatini.
We continue with our news. This is our business news, and we want to look at our second story. We have just looked at the global gap. We want now to look at the tax debt relief program, which sees businesses 250,000 Malangeni debt written off, where businesswomen recently had about 250,000 Malangeni in VAT debt waived through the tax debt relief program, who has now applauded the Ministry of Finance and the Eswatini Revenue Service for the initiative, which was launched in the year 2022, which has since come to an end. Winnie Lemnisi expressed gratitude, stating that the program has provided significant financial relief. She also commended the Eswatini Revenue Service's Bafunzise door-to-door campaign, saying it will greatly assist businesses in understanding as well as complying with tax regulations.
So fortunately enough, but nabafika bangfundzisa and nga-applyela i-waiver, I was owing 250,000, so I was able to bang-waive that amount.
So nyalo bafikile basikhumbula ukuthi sifuna submit in time, and nalokuthi ke nyalo mawungakhona submita lama letinto letifunekako on time, kuba nema penalties la amounting to 200 or more ngelanga.
Mina nje kufika kwabo namuhla kungisidile benginenkinga vele ekusubmita lo pay as you earn lengena ngimsubmita each and every month.
All right, we'll go for a break. We'll be back shortly with our Enterprise Watch segment.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
This is Market View. Thank you for staying with us. Now, the Eswatini Revenue Service has been tasked with a massive target of 16.4 billion emalangeni in revenue this financial year, which is a rather significant increase from last year's 14.5 billion emalangeni. Now, to help meet this ambitious goal, the Bafunzise door-to-door campaign was launched in March. And now the campaign focuses on educating businesses about tax compliance, which is a critical step in boosting national revenue. In the city of Manzini alone, over 1,800 businesses have been visited under this initiative. Our business journalist, Nelson Wendlangamandla, spoke to Cebolenkosi Mahlalela from the Taxpayer Education Unit to find out what impact this campaign is making and whether Eswatini is on track to reach its target.
Cebo, welcome to Market View. We know that the Eswatini Revenue Service has been given a target by the Ministry of Finance to collect 16.41 billion emalangeni in taxes this year. We saw the Commissioner General launching the Bafunzise campaign, where you seek to educate businesses about paying tax. So we want to understand the progress of this campaign. How many businesses have you been able to reach as a service?
Thank you very much. Eswatini Revenue Service has been out there educating taxpayers in the towns of Eswatini. So we started in Manzini on the 17th of March 2025. And so far, the uptake from there, it's been good. The reception has been really good. The collaboration from the businesses has really been awesome, and we are actually grateful for how they've received us. So in terms of the numbers that we've covered in Manzini, as of today, we have covered about 1,800 businesses, which we've been able to educate, which we've also been able to engage, encounter, and also empower in terms of their tax compliance.
You are saying 1,800 businesses have been reached in Manzini. since the campaign started. In terms of percentages, what is the level of compliance? And if there are challenges, what are those challenges that are faced by these businesses?
Out of this number, about 70% have been found to be compliant. Just at a 30% level, have been found to be struggling with their compliance. You will remember that there's the 4 main pillars of compliance, which is registration, filing on time, paying on time, as well as record keeping. So within the 30%, we found that they've not even registered. They don't have TINs, yet they are operating. And we are happy that we've been able to handhold them. The registration is still ongoing. So ERS then decided through the Bafundise campaign to introduce an initiative which we have termed on-site TIN registration. So over and above us explaining the need for you to be compliant and register for a TIN, we have also gone to an extent of literally assisting you on the ground in your shop to register you for a TIN for as long as you consent. And we've been seeing a good uptake, and that campaign again is still ongoing.
The Eswatini Revenue Service recently introduced the presumptive tax, where if a business's gross turnover does not exceed 50,000 emalangeni, they do not have to pay tax. What is the uptake of the presumptive tax from local businesses?
Through the Bafundise campaign, we are also getting an opportunity to explain what is presumptive tax, and the uptake is really awesome. Some business people didn't know about presumptive tax. They didn't know that if you make a turnover of 0 to 50,000 emalangeni in a year of assessment, you will not be charged tax. The tax that you'll pay is at 0%. They didn't know that. And then if you make 50,000 up to 500,000 emalangeni in a year, then you'll be charged 1.75%. They also didn't know that, and also how to apply that. So through Bafundise, we've been able to explain, interact with the clients, and we are seeing the interest that they're showing. That is also what has encouraged some of the clients that were not registered at all to then register, because what you are doing through the registration, we just we enroll them into presumptive tax immediately.
We might applaud the Eswatini Revenue Service for ensuring that they get these businesses to register. But what will you do to ensure that they do not just register, but they actually pay the taxes that are later used in the different development projects in the country?
Okay, from the engagements that we've been having with the businesses, they've been able to share to us their struggles, because the approach is, I'm sure you remember the Sonzela's Khuluma slogan, where we say, come as you are, tell us your struggles. Where are you struggling? How would you like us to assist you? We found a high level of ignorance when it comes to the issues of tax. So they make silly mistakes, but we've been able to engage with them, and we're still continuing. So in terms of now or rather assisting them, now that we are taking them into our database, we are registering them. We have a plan whereby we will not just capture you and register you to just have a TIN, just for you having a TIN. We will also be hand-holding them to assist them on compliance, so that they uphold the 4 pillars of compliance that you've introduced in the beginning, so that they're also able to continue with their compliance journey. So it's not just like we want you to just have a TIN. We're also going to assist them. How then do you file your returns? When do you have to pay? How do you make payment arrangements? How do you keep your records? We have a plan also, so that we do a follow-up to assist them. So we will be intentional in nudging these clients.
The target has been set so high this year, 16.41 billion emalangeni. It's an increase from last year. Maybe before I let you go, you can briefly explain to the viewer at home, to this business person who still does not see the importance of paying tax. Why is it important that we pay our taxes, or different businesses pay their taxes?
Okay. It is very important for everyone who's having operations or who's making income in the country to pay their taxes. You will see going around, you see tax at work. You see government spending and, taking care of the country, and we're seeing the economy growing. It is through the taxes that are paid. And one would want to mention that not only just certain individuals need to pay tax, we need everyone who's making income so that the tax base or the tax net is shared between or among all everyone who's making income in the country, so that the burden is not felt by specific individuals. So we really encourage, and through Bafunzisa campaign, that is exactly what we are encouraging, and we are happy for the conversations that we're having with business people, interacting. They are able to raise their concerns, and we're also able to explain further, and we really see that they are getting what we are explaining.
You have said in Manzini alone, of the 1,800 businesses that you have visited, 30% of them were not complying, but now you have registered them. Let's hope that they will contribute into ensuring that the service is able to reach the 16.41 billion in Alangeni, so that government can be able to do all the development projects. Siyabona edibhedlela kude imithi kulesinye isikhathi njengoba esowushilo le mali lena isita kakhulu khona lapho ekutheni uhulumende akukhona ukuthi achube imisebenzi yelive. Siyabonga kakhulu kuba nathi elihlelweni.
And that's our Enterprise Watch segment. We have our market analysis with our economist, Sanel SB, after the break.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
Well, the numbers are in and global markets are on the move. Wall Street holds its nerve with modest gains across the board, and Europe, on the other hand, strides ahead. The DAX and the CAC 40 closing over 1% higher, of course signaling bullish sentiment on the continent. While in Asia, markets nudge upward while the JSE barely flinches. And here at home, the Eswatini market remains flat. Meanwhile, Brent crude climbs 1.47%, driving fuel cost debates across the region, while gold takes a hit down over 1% as investors rotate out of safe havens. And the Lilangeni, well, it's sliding. It is weakening slightly, though, against the dollar, euro, as well as the yen. Joining us, Sanel SB, he joins us telephonically once again today because of the terrible network connection where he is. But we have made the effort to really connect with him, and he's going to give us his insights and cut through the noise and make sense of what these numbers actually mean. Sanele, good afternoon to you and welcome to the program. Global sentiment first. Let's start with the U.S. We're seeing that it's securing a significant trade deal with the U.K. Those have been, some of the headlines, as well as easing the AI chip export restrictions. We've seen a positive response in U.S. markets. Talk to me about how these developments influence investor sentiment globally, as well as, what implications might have for emerging markets like Eswatini.
Thank you, Mr. Ngumalo, and good afternoon to the viewer. So what we are seeing happening in the markets today, Mr. Ngumalo, is that you pointed out that there is talks of the trade deal with the United Kingdom, and there is also talks with China. So markets are taking those strides into those movements in positive strides. That's why we're seeing the markets reacting to today. And over and above, Mr. Ngumalo, what we saw yesterday was that decision coming out of the Federal Reserve Bank to hold interest rates steady and not actually increase them, amid the fact that the chair of the Federal Reserve Bank did point out that there are inflationary fears due to these tariff stories that are making rounds across the globe. But the fact that J. Powell decided to hold on steady to those interest rates somehow signals that the Federal Reserve Bank is willing to accommodate the fiscal policy movements that are happening within the U.S. And what I like mostly about what is happening right now is, the continuous stand for independence of the Federal Reserve Bank within the U.S. So markets are really just taking that into positive stride. And also the fact that we have these earnings coming in, Mr. Ngumalo, somehow, boosting markets to stay on that positive territory. And, that's a refinement of that, Joe Biden type of tariff movement of those cheap exports. Now that's actually going to bolster the markets, because what markets are actually looking for, Mr. Ngumalo, is ways to trade around those cheap, so that the entire market is able to gauge on that artificial intelligence weapon.
Okay, let's look at the European market dynamics now. The indices have shown some resilience, and yet the Bank of England's recent interest rate cut to 4.25% indicates underlying concerns. Now, how do you interpret these mixed signals, and what should Eswatini be mindful of in this context?
So what we are seeing, that interesting movement coming through from the Bank of London, Mr. Ngumalo, is the fact that markets are actually a bit worried about Trump's tariff stance. Now, nobody knows what he's going to do. We know that there is going to be an announcement that is going to be made, but we don't know how fast he'll walk away from that very same announcement. And there's just quite a lot. We don't know whether it's going to hold water, whether it is what markets are looking for. So the Bank of England is, in a way, trying to anticipate that one way or the other, regardless of the fact that we may have a deal with the US as the UK, the overall movements within the global economy, those interlinkages, one way or the other, do require that we need to have a bit of some preemptive growth stimulus going into the economy to somehow cushion for these effects of those Trump tariffs. So I think that's how the UK is playing their cards. And also, we cannot forget the fact that the UK in itself, Mr. Ngumalo, is battling with a bit of a growth problem. So that's why they would actually find it very beneficial for them to actually do away with, to lower the interest rates. And then when you come into the German economy and the French economy there, what we're seeing there is, as we move closer towards that the coalition government in Germany, and also as there are those talks of trade deals between the EU, the US, the UK, and the US. Now that somehow bodes well for an exporting economy like the German economy. So in as much as there may not be a direct deal with the EU as of yet, but the fact that deals are now beginning to come into the table, now that's a very good sign that it made that President Trump is willing to talk. And we saw him in that conference with Prime Minister Kenny of Canada yesterday, really just being quite open to the fact that, we are making deals, and we will be back with deals in the next couple of weeks. We'll be presenting quite a number of deals. So, safe to say deals are being made right now.
European markets exhibiting some sort of caution, and this is amid, of course, the ongoing US-China trade negotiations, as well as the Fed's decision to maintain interest rates. What risks and opportunities does this present for Eswatini's trade as well as investment landscape?
Thank you, Ngumalo. So what we are seeing overall throughout the market is a bit of that cautious uptake of the positive news. So everyone takes this news in a cautious way, but nobody knows what is yet to come, because this has been a very unpredictable administration So what we should then expect as a Eswatini going forward is, yes, we can see that, mainland China and Japan are somehow being bolstered, and they are somehow remaining resilient regardless of whatever it is that is happening across the globe. So what we need to be mindful of right now is the fact that countries are also out there making deals with the normal, and we do know that China is out there making deals to actually bolster their trade with other countries. So that's one of the things we should be looking forward to as a country, to see if we can't improve our trade relations with the mainland and also improve our trade relations with Japan. And also we need to look into issues of being able to benefit from that trade diversion. We do know that Toyota came out to state that they are losing approximately let's say around $1 billion in the next 2 months. That's what they project they're going to lose because of these tariff threats. So what we need to do as a country is to basically position ourselves to be in a position to take advantage of those movements and be able to make the right deals for the Kingdom of Eswatini as we wait to see how the world turns out.
Yeah. I do want us to look into some of these Brent crude oil trends that we are seeing. Prices have risen slightly on the back of trade optimism, yet CT has lowered its short-term focus due to some of the potential, of course, increased focused supply that is happening in the Iranian supply. How might these oil market dynamics affect Eswatini's economy, and particularly in terms of fuel prices and inflation?
In the global fuel market, Mr. Ngumalo, we are a bit concerned about the likely movement, because we do know that if a nuclear deal is reached with Iran, as the indications are, we are going to reach a nuclear deal pretty soon. That's actually going to have an impact of increasing oil that's already out there in supply. But now that we juxtapose that with the growth prospects that are very weak at the present moment, Mr. Ngumalo, now that would have the implications of pushing oil prices down overall in the global markets. And that's why we're seeing the city forecast coming out to really just put global oil prices at around $55 per barrel for Brent crude oil, which is the international standard. That's just an issue to do with the oil prices in itself, to do with the supply of oil, and also to do with the demand of oil. So right now, the supply may be going up, but the demand, we really don't see much happening in terms of the demand unless we get a bit of a clearer outlook in terms of the Trump tariffs, Mr. Ngumalo. So that's where we are with the price of Brent crude. And, if this were happening in a situation where the dollar-lilangeni exchange rate were not as volatile, we would then expect to see another price cut in terms of pump prices, as we've already been seeing in South Africa. Just that in the domestic economy now, we have to factor in the fact that we have seen this 40 cents fuel levy increase. But overall, we should expect fuel prices to either stabilize or maybe just give us one cut in the next 2 to 3 months.
Yeah, as you hint on our exchange rate with the dollar, perhaps you can expound more on what we are seeing here. We are seeing the Lilangeni experiencing a slight depreciation against major currencies. What are the factors that are driving this movement, and what strategies can Eswatini employ to mitigate potential negative impacts?
Yeah, thank you, Ngumalo. So in terms of the dollar Lilangeni exchange rate, the euro Lilangeni exchange rate, and the Japanese yen Lilangeni exchange rate, again, what's happening there is the international dynamics that are at play, and the gold price story that is at play. So that's why we're seeing the Lilangeni move around in terms of the dollar exchange rate. So it is somehow positive, a bit of strength, though at very weak levels, not necessarily at the levels we saw, say, in June of 2029. Of 2025, 2024, I mean. I do apologize for that. So what we are most likely going to see then, Mr. Ngumalo, is we are going to see this as the new equilibrium, say, for the next 2 to 3 months, as we get a bit of a clearer outlook in terms of those exchange rates, in terms of those tariff policies, and as we get it clearer. Arena, and we are able to trade at sustainable levels of the market.
Yeah, in a world where pressure mounts and markets move fast, I guess clarity is the real currency, and you have just provided that. Thank you, Sanele. Thank you to our viewers for staying with us. This has been Market View, the Thursday edition. We'll see you again next week, Monday. Bye-bye.